Yes, people, we are live at the Albert JTV household. Live Stories is back upon our screens once again. Episode 14, people.
Oh, I'm honored. I got the number 14. I love it.
But before we get into it, people, let's hear that serene intro. Announcement time. Live Stories is back on your screens. Hashtag episode 14. Joining me in the hot seat is my very special guest at Arsenal Mode 8. People, this will be a show full of intrigue. People, welcome back to Albert JTV. Hashtag Life Stories. And there you have it, people. Life Stories, as I like to call myself, the 21st century Michael Aspel with a bit of street cred. But we'll see. We'll let the viewers be the judge of that. But people, as I always say, don't obliterate the like button. Don't smash it. Obliterate it. And yes, audio listeners, you will not be neglected. So, all Anchor and Spotify people, be on your best guard because I will put this out later. As you can see, people, I have a very special guest with me. This is going to be an intriguing, however long it's going to take, Mo. But we're not keeping too long, mate. But firstly, thank you for agreeing to come on the channel. And yes, welcome to Albert JTV, mate.
Listen, man, it's an absolute pleasure. And you don't need to thank me. It's I'm glad to be on. And also, like I was just saying off camera to you, you know, that just even when you when you approached me, started speaking to me, I just got a good vibe from you. I got a good energy from you. So I thought, let's do it, man. Let's happy to talk and get stuck into a decent conversation with you.
No, I appreciate it. Much love, Mo. Thank you, man. Yeah, this content series is you know what? I brainstorm a bit sometimes, obviously, when I think about content, but this just kind of just hit me overnight. I thought, you know what? Let's have a go and see where it goes. So, 14 episodes in, man, and yeah, it's I'll take you away from the blood and thunder of Twitter for a little bit, mate. Not too long, but yeah, it's like that. But yeah, Mo, before we get into it, let's go to chat quickly. Of course, my Arsenal family is in there. Lewis and Shaheen, big up to you guys, man. Thank you, man. G Talks is in there. Thank you, brother. I hope you recovered from the preview yesterday, which was very interesting, Arsenal Tottenham. But Bo, before we get into it, I just want to quickly ask you your thoughts about a big game tomorrow, mate. I don't know if you're going or not, but what's your feelings and your thoughts about Arsenal's recent form coming into this very important North London derby?
I am going, and yeah, I mean, look, you know, God willing, but basically, I'm nervous. I really am very nervous about the game tomorrow. But in a way, like I'm nervous on the 90 minutes, but I'm not that nervous about the wider context this game represents. Because if I was a Tottenham fan, I'd be nervous about both. But as an Arsenal fan, we don't need to win this game. And you know, I find that when you say that, I'm saying that from like a very like sort of like factual mathematical point of view. We can get top four without winning this game. It's just a simple fact. Whilst for Tottenham, they cannot get top four if they lose the game, and it will be very difficult for them to get top four if they don't win the game. So this does not speak for my ambition in terms of what I want to see when I go to White Hart Lane. This speaks for just the cold hard facts. So yeah, I'm nervous about the actual game itself because you never want to lose to Tottenham. But if we do lose to Tottenham, I'm not nervous for what it means for our top four ambitions because we can still do it, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. Mo, do you think it works? I think it does. I mean, listen, our record away to Tottenham is wretched. It's been a long time since we've gone there and won, but I think it works in our favour just in a little bit. Obviously, Spurs need to win the game, but sometimes when we play the bigger sides with less possession of the ball, we seem to be more of a threat, I think, personally, in the bigger games, which is not been said about Arsenal teams in previous years, should I say. So do you think that works in our favour, that we don't have to go on the front foot as such?
Actually, no, Albert, I don't. I think it works in Tottenham's favour. And the reason being is because, firstly, they are the home team. So it's much easier to execute whatever plan you have when you are the home team. So even though I get your point that, yeah, we're the away team with less possession and stuff and perhaps making us more dangerous on the counter, I think the biggest dynamic as to why I think it works in Tottenham's favour is because it's such a simple task for Tottenham. Go and win. With Arsenal, we have to contend with different kind of thoughts going on in terms of winning. Yes, we get top four. As long as we avoid defeat, it's okay. If we do lose, we can still qualify for top four, but it becomes very nervy. And it almost kind of makes you gives you less clarity on the one mission that you're out there
Yeah.
to achieve. Whilst Tottenham, as I said, just win. I don't know. I'm sure Mikel Arteta is going to do the right thing, set his team up to win, right? And to sort of like give them no confusion in their minds. He'll set them out with clarity. But in the tough moments in a game, in terms of, do you commit for that interception? Do you sort of, press in a pack, or do you just drop deeper a little bit? These things are a reflection of what's going on in your head. And in your head, if the players are kind of thinking must not lose today rather than must win, that's when I feel like the manager's clarity and the manager's messages might not translate to what actually happens on the pitch. And we're a young team, so I always kind of feel like with a more mature team, they'll probably be better at dealing with that sort of like knowledge that we have to play on the front foot and ignore the fact that we don't need to win the game, whilst a younger team might let that creep into their mindset. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how the players deal with that confusion tomorrow.
Yeah, listen, Mo, firstly, safe journey and get home safely the game after the game tomorrow. And that's just, and I'm being serious when I say that to a lot of Arsenal fans that are going tomorrow, because it's been a long time coming, because a lot of people haven't been to the ground because of COVID and, no fans. So the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. Score predictions, Mo?
1-1.
Same here. Touche.
Yeah.
I think it will. I think we'll get a draw. Obviously I'd love there to go and win, but I think a draw. I think we will get a draw. Sorry, Holly in the chat, but your boys are not getting top four. But yeah, Mo, thanks for that, man. I appreciate it, man. Right, people, life stories is going to begin. Mo, the first question I always ask my fantastic guests: your Arsenal story, my brother. Why Arsenal? Earliest memories and influences. # storytelling.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one, because like I think for a lot of people, when you ask them this question, part of their answer must include like their parents or an uncle or an auntie or someone like that, a grandparent, that has almost like created that legacy of supporting a team within a family. But I didn't have that. My dad was not born in North London, never mind England, never mind Europe. My dad was born in Pakistan. He
Right,
did not grow up caring about Arsenal or any football team for that matter. So when he came to the country, he actually ended up in Newcastle. So if he had any vague affiliation to a team, it was Newcastle. And it's funny because he tells me when he went there, he didn't understand anything anyone was saying. Right? That is not the English that he expected to hear when he came from Pakistan, right? But so when I grew up, I didn't have that influence. In fact, I had like within my like religious community, one guy who was older than me, he supported Tottenham, and he almost like tried to convince me to support Tottenham. But luckily for me, I was always like quite headstrong, even as a kid. So look, as part of my faith, I'm not allowed to drink. And like a lot of young Muslim kids, they might fall into the trap of trying it. But for me, never even tried it. I never struggled to say no. If someone told me to do something, I never struggled with peer pressure and stuff. So I was like, no, I don't want to. Just the mere fact that I was told to do something made me not want to do it. I just didn't like authority. So in the school playground, everyone was a United fan. And when I say United, I should clarify Man United, because the most relevant United these days is Newcastle or even West Ham. Man United are that irrelevant. But the point is, back then when United were relevant, it was Man United. And people were like going after them. And I was like, well, no, I don't want to support them. I don't know how or why it happened. I remember in 1993, that's my earliest memory. It was the Sheffield Wednesday Cup finals, League Cup and FA Cup in 1993. And I remember being like very emotionally invested in those results and celebrating those victories. So at that point, I was emotionally invested, but I don't remember when I first loved Arsenal, where I first kind of felt like, oh, I want this team to do well. And then I remember by like 1994 buzzing about the Cup Winners' Cup final. 1995, I ran up to my room crying after we failed to retain it in the final. And then 1997 was my first ever game. North Bank, Highbury, lower tier, by myself. My mum waiting outside the ground for me. I was 13 years old. And when I look back at that, I think, man, that's mad. The terraces are different now compared to the way they were back then. And I guess it was only through the naivety of myself and my family in terms of what football can be like that I was able to go by myself as a 13-year-old Asian kid with big ears in the North Bank Lower. Like I stuck out like a sore thumb. But I remember in that game, we it was Arsenal Bolton. Ian Wright broke the goal scoring record. He
Yes.
was my absolute hero. So I always loved Ian Wright. There was something about his charisma, his love for the game, the way he played it. As a kid, I could see that he was different to other people. And the fact that he got into it so late, it seemed to mean more to
Yeah.
him. He was more on the edge, like every second he wanted to make it count. And I think that really resonated with me. So I'm sure he had a big, big part to play in that. And yeah, that's it. I went to the North Bank Lower and never looked back. That was it. I caught the bug, and been going to games since then.
No, fantastic, bro. That's just why I like life stories, getting people's stories as to how they got into supporting Arsenal. Like I said in previous life stories with myself, it depends when people are born, and everybody's era is different. When I came a bit more self-sufficient and able to afford games and go on my own, and sort of my era started in the Emirates era. So, my first game was we played at home to Birmingham. It was 1-1, Adebayo penalty. I think that was 08 January. Yeah. So yeah, not a great result to be honest with you. But listen, experience at the ground and never looked back ever since. So everybody's journey is different. But Mo, fantastic,
yeah.
man, fantastic stuff.
I just want to pull up a comment. G
Go on.
Talks Arsenal said Ian Wright is the reason why so many Gooners are Gooners. And do you know what? That's such a true point. Not even just when it comes to fans. I'm talking about just so many people. I think at that point, like Thierry Henry has had like a global impact. Ian Wright had a really strong domestic impact because the game wasn't beamed around the world to the extent that it was in the Henry day. But Thierry Henry ran because Ian Wright walked in a way. Like it was, if it wasn't for what Ian Wright created and made Arsenal so culturally relevant, let's not forget that even after he retired, he was doing talk shows and this and that. Ian Wright is just like, I think it's a beautiful story, Ian Wright, where he came from to where he is now. Ian Wright, at one point, he got put in prison for returning to a police station to pay insurance fines or something crazy like that. He actually went to rectify his wrong. And then they chucked him in prison and he served like a week or two. And like, I think it was Brighton, if I'm not mistaken. He had a trial there, did really well, spent weeks and weeks.
I remember that story. Yeah.
And then they said, no, we're ditching you. And he had a youngster to support at home, and he actually gave up on football before obviously Palace came and changed the trajectory of his life. I go back from that, such low moments of that Brighton trial and getting put in prison for these fines and stuff that he was trying to pay to now. Never mind the football element and all it's achieved in the game. What I find amazing about him now, that when he first became a pundit, people sort of like rubbished him a little bit, like he's only there for passion.
Ridiculed him a little.
Now, when he's there and he says something, when he makes a comment about race or like the place of women's football, that actually becomes headline news. Ian Wright says something on a Friday, on a Saturday, that's a BBC headline. That's just how respected, and just shows how much like he has flourished as a person, as like a really influential person for working class and black culture and football culture. I would love to have an Asian guy have that level of influence and universal love as Ian Wright to advocate for my people like Ian Wright does for so many black people. He's a national treasure. I loved him as a player, and I love him even more now.
He's crossover appeal with even a lot of the footballers now, whether they're youngsters or in their season pros. I don't think any other ex-player has that, Mo.
Yeah, he's like a father figure to so many like that, and irrespective of rivalries. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans, we see that and we don't begrudge it at all. If he's showing some love to Dele Alli or Marcus Rashford, whoever it might be, we see that and we respect it because we know what he's about.
100%, man. Ian Wright went to my old secondary school, right? Obviously, I wasn't around when Ian Wright went there, but Samuel Pepys, I think, when Ian Wright went there. Flipping hell. But he's done some amazing documentaries that if people haven't seen them, listen, they're easy to find and very accessible. Go and watch it. Tear jerkers in there as well, trust me. But Mo, fantastic stuff, man. Let's go on to the next one. It's an interesting question, Mo, for you. Who's the best non-Arsenal player, past and present? So you got two choices. Who you've seen play live at a game that you've gone to. Hashtag tough choices.
Messi for sure.
100%.
Just he answers both. He's the best past, best present, because for me, he's the best of all time, even though
Yeah.
he's obviously not a past player as such. But I think like in future years, you can ask me this question, it'll be Messi. You can ask me now, it's Messi. I think he's the best player to have ever kicked a ball. Just, he's an absolute freak. He's got no comparison. Nobody comes close. Not Maradona, not Pele. No one comes close. So for me, it's Messi. And obviously, I saw him at when Arsenal played Barcelona
Yeah.
at the Nou Camp, and he's just another level. But you know what? It's interesting because in that game, it's not that game was an iconic game for him where he blew me away. He was still just phenomenal. But when I think about players that played in the Premier League, the one player that I always remember thinking like, wow, like he was good, that's non-Arsenal, was Luis Suarez.
Yeah.
His tenacity just like never ever stopped. And when he got the ball, the silkiness and stuff, he was actually a player, as a season ticket holder at Arsenal, I do think to myself sometimes, like, how lucky am I that every single player that's going to grace, this Premier League season, barring injury, of course, I will get to see.
Yeah.
So whether that's like someone like Mahrez, or whether it's someone like a Van Dijk or a Salah or a Foden or whoever it might be, I get to see them. Suarez was one that I was looking forward to, and he didn't disappoint. His technique was just out of this world. But Messi's the number one, internationally, and then Suarez domestically.
Yeah. No, there's something about South American players. I don't know what it is, man. Even with Arto, Martinelli, Sanchez, they just built different mo. I don't know what it is. It's that street footballer in them, and it's just something about South American players, man. It just they've got the extra sort of something.
Yeah, you're right, and I feel like in this country, I don't know what it's like in South America, but this is just my theory on it. That in this country, if you're good, you're at a club by the age of like 7 or something. So you're coached and coached and coached. And I think that kind of like abundance of coaching almost takes the maverick out of you.
Yeah, 100%.
It establishes a bit more control in your game. And it probably ups the percentages of people that make it overall, but it probably diminishes the number of truly maverick special players. So in South America, I wonder, like Messi's an exception, obviously, but I wonder like how many of the South American players were at clubs like picked up that young. And as a result of that, perhaps they've managed to retain some of that rawness that makes them so special.
No, well said, man. I think, you know what, even domestically, like through sort of my growing up, I think there's 2 players, like past players, I'm going to say. I know Holly might be happy about this, but you wouldn't have been alive to see him play. But Gaza was something else. Paul Gascoigne, he really was. And what people remember of Euro '96, but in his early part of his career and before the injury in the cup final in the early '90s, done his thing, went to Lazio in Serie A. Gaza he had that extra something, like that word maverick player. Even someone like Matt Letizia, he played fantastic, man. Natural ability. Some of the goals that guy scored, if anybody goes and watches like Premier League goals, watch Matt Letizia. You'll cry with joy. He's that good. I think he only missed 1 penalty in his career.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Remember that goal he scored, which is just ridiculous to imagine a player doing this now. They had a free kick. He's standing like 6 yards behind the ball. A player rolled it to him. He just flicks it up and volleys it in. Like, it's just
it's nothing. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah,
can you imagine seeing a player do that now?
But yes, man, it seems to be some of the English guys that were naturally gifted, talented, like John Barnes and Matt Letizia. When they put on an England shirt, maybe it's pressure, maybe it was systems we can get into, but it just never materialized. Those two guys in particular. But naturally fantastic, gifted footballers, man. But no, Mo, big up to you, man. Great shout, man. Right, let me crack on to the next one. I like this one actually, man. It's interesting to get what your replies going to be. Name me one past and present non-footballing icon that you admire the most and why. # the world of sport.
Well, you know what? Like for me, football used to be my priority. Yeah. Like, do you know what? Like, it's funny. I haven't actually ever mentioned this, I don't think. So you're getting a bit of a exclusive here.
Yes.
Like you're walking down the street and you get a chugger, with those charity muggers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like someone might knock on my door, like a salesman or something like that.
Yeah.
Or even like I'll be on the phone and then someone will say, "Oh, look, would you mind providing feedback or something afterwards?" The one thing I always used to say with people was like, "Okay, I'll do it on one condition." They were like, "Go on, what's that?" and I'd say, you tell me who the greatest team in the land is. And then you see people do this thing, where they don't care to try and guess. What they want to do is give you the right answer. So then they say, like, they like look for all the context clues. Like, if it's someone on the phone, they've got some of your details. They might like look for your email address, or they might look for your location or something like that to try and guess who supports. They give you the right answer. But then I would say to them as well that don't just lie to me, because I'm going to quiz you. Not only do you have to tell me who the best team in the land is, you have to tell me like some trivia about that team, right? So like anyone would know, like, who did Ian Wright transfer from? Crystal Palace. Done. Okay, fine, that's it, you've passed the test. And then I would do things for people. So that used to be the way it was. But now I've changed. Like, now what's important to me, and this is why I'll come on to the question that you've got. It's not important to me necessarily what goes on the pitch or just about sport itself. It used to be my absolute priority. Now I'm actually more interested in, are you a Tory or not? If you're a Tory, do one. You know, and it's politics. It's stuff that's more deeper, more serious, you know, that actually matters to me. And on that basis, my answer now would be Muhammad Ali. And not because of what he did in the ring, because you can have various people doing great stuff in any sport. Like, for example, Roger Federer. I admire him and his style and the way he plays the game. But if someone said to me, name one truly amazing, inspiring thing he's done outside of the tennis court, he may well have done, but I'm not aware of it. But what Muhammad Ali did in his refusal to go to war, and the way he was so unashamedly himself, the fact that he had like the strength and the courage to convert to Islam, for example. And I'm not saying that as a Muslim. I'm just saying like that strength of character that he had, and you know, to mix that all with the talent and this and that, and to just absolutely just conduct that respect like a magnet from everyone, and that love. It's like, you know, it's crazy. You see other people. I think we're lucky, actually. If you think about it, in this day and age, we're living in a time of GOATs. When you think about it, no matter what sport you look at, our lifetime has seen the GOAT. Whether it's tennis, you could say Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, whoever you think the GOAT is. F1, Lewis Hamilton. Football, Messi. Snooker, Ronnie O'Sullivan. You know, running, like, you know, 100-meter sprints, Usain Bolt. We're living in a lifetime of GOATs. But Muhammad Ali, no one has topped him. He's still there as that GOAT. So for me, I admire him just all round. I think he's been just one hell of a guy.
Yeah, great shout. Many people said him. People said Michael Jordan, basketball.
But again, with Michael Jordan, see, this is why I gave you that example of what I used to say to charity muggers compared to what I say now. Michael Jordan on the pitch, absolutely. But Muhammad Ali, some of the things that he did when he refused to go to war, that's it, man.
Yeah.
The man.
No, well said, man. Well said. Big up to Mo with that. People in the chat, thank you for your interaction. Like I say, smash the like button. I would say for myself, you know what, I've always mentioned before, like, I as much as I love Arsenal football, I generally love sport. Athletics is a massive part of my life. I love cricket, I love tennis, love snooker, golf. I like most sports. But for me, tennis-wise, people talk about obviously Federer, and they talk about Nadal and Djokovic, Murray. And to be fair, Andy Murray's done his thing in a very, 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 very difficult era where those guys were just winning slams after slams. But absolutely loved Andre Agassi, man. Charisma personified. Won all 4 majors. The way that guy just used to dictate his opponents from the back of the court, it looked like he was doing a training session. They're running from side to side. He's just standing there, backhand, forehand, top spin. Just for someone, for his type of game, particularly with around Sampras around that time, for him to win all the Grand Slams, even the French, traditionally with a tough service like that. But plaudits to him, man. But Andre Agassi, man, loved him. Absolutely loved him.
He was cool. He was a cool character.
Yeah, and obviously, I think current-wise as well, I have to throw Mo Farah into that, because I didn't think I'd ever see anyone in terms of British athletics from a long-distance point of view to have that kind of dominance and to win. I think, is it 10 global gold medals? It's insane. Just he was amazing to watch, even not to be there live, like the Olympics in 2012. I was lucky enough to go to the World Championships in 2017 in this country, and just to see that guy perform at the level that he performed at, taking on the might of the Kenyans, the Ethiopian. I don't think I'm going to see it again in my lifetime. Definitely not a British fan. Absolutely not.
He's an Arsenal fan too.
which helps, Mo, which always helps.
Exactly, always helps. Yeah.
No, big up to you, man. Thanks for that, man. We're flying through these, man. What we got now? I already know your answer to this, Mo, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. We can talk about him all day, probably. Your most favorite past and present Arsenal player.
Yeah.
Last
So
from
the past, like I've already spoken about Ian Wright on this stream. You know, it's just Ian Wright for me. Absolutely love the guy. You know, I've met him a few times, and
oh, I'd love to meet him, man.
Oh man, do you know what? When you do, yeah, you know, I've never taken drugs, right? But I felt like I was high. Honestly, I was just, my feet didn't touch the ground on the way home when I was going home. Like I was flying. Honestly, it was just, you know, people say don't never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Ian Wright just absolutely makes it clear to me that you other people need better heroes, because he is just like the most down to earth, nice, friendly, humble guy just around. I love him to bits. I've told him so many times I'll take a bullet for him. I said to him, Ian, like I'm not saying it, like I'm serious. If a gunman walked in right now, I'm diving in front of you. Like I love you. I absolutely love you. I'll take a bullet for that guy, man.
Yeah, but he does. He has that. I could sit here and reel off a million different words, Mo, but he has that magnetism about him. But even when he's not even talking about Arsenal, him and Roy Keane, when they get together, man, I just can't stop laughing, man. It just makes me laugh.
Yeah. He's just exactly that. He's got so much charisma, so much magnetism. Just like wicked guy, man.
Anything he's clipped in, man, I have to watch it, man. Even when we beat, I think we beat Chelsea, and I think he works for the Premier League, and I saw some of the clips. He was just laughing, and nobody right. I saw.
Yeah, man, he's a legend. Honestly. And also, so many to so many fans, it's very important how a player treats the club after they leave. He's always, you can tell, kept the club in such high regard with the way that he talks about the club. And, you know, obviously fans appreciate that as well. So massive respect to him. But in terms of a present Arsenal player, not too long ago, you know, there was a time where I did not like the team. There were so many people in the club that I thought, actually, I don't like you. I don't want your name at the back of my shirt. But now, do you know what? I think it's got to be Bukayo Saka. For me,
good shout.
Maybe I'm biased, but I look at certain players and I think to myself, even if you're a rival fan, how can you hate them? So an example of that would be N'Golo Kante. I despise Chelsea. I like N'Golo Kante. Edwin van der Sar at United. I thought to myself, do you know what? He just seems like a decent guy, man. No reason to dislike him. So Juan Mata, you know, play for both of these clubs. Do I dislike him? No, I just don't. I think he seems like a decent bloke, you know. And for me, Bukayo Saka surely has got to be that sort of similar people for rival fans. I don't see why anyone can dislike him. He seems really humble. He's never in the papers for any nonsense, for any stupidity, getting into altercations or doing dumb stuff. From what I remember, he even because he's so young, you know, it wasn't too long ago. He was even doing well in his A levels and stuff or whatever it was. You know, seems like a really good guy. And on top of that, we saw recently when Arsenal played Man United, McTominay, he punched the ball out of his hand when he was done with the penalty and stuff.
Yeah.
And it speaks to me about Saka's it's just God-given, it seems, like this maturity that he has, that it's just hard to rile him up.
Yeah, and, he's just laughing. He was laughing,
Exactly. It's like he's so, I see some wisdom in him in that he almost he knows what the game's about. He knows. He hasn't taken it personally. He processes things that happen to him like such a seasoned professional. McTominay's done that. It's not to annoy me. He's trying to put me off. That's fine. What's the best way of dealing with the situation? Laugh it off, pick the ball up. Don't do anything differently. Score the goal. Done. And what I love about him is that a lot of players would, on the face of it, not react, score the goal, and then go up to McTominay. Didn't even feel the need to do that. He's just impenetrable at such a young age. The maturity that this guy has got is something special, and that's why I feel like he manages to just be so consistent, because it's hard to knock him off his stride. So yeah, Bukayo Saka for me is one that I've got a lot of time for, a lot of love for.
Yeah, in regards to Saka, I'm going to work in reverse. So in regards to Saka, I'm not surprised to you say that. Firstly, I think now with me, Mo, regardless of whoever a player plays for, if you're a top player, you're a top player. Don't care about your age, don't care about your nationality. If you're a good player, we play for Tottenham, United, Chelsea, Bolton, Accrington Stanley, doesn't matter. I'll say you're a top player. I think more so now than how you feel with Saka from rival fans, by the way. he gets a lot more plaudits. I've seen from a lot of people, big YouTubers, whatever, give him a lot more credit than what they probably gave him in the last 12, 18 months. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but I think that's very relevant and very fair because,
Yeah.
you know, this season I feel like he's moved on from people being able to say, you know, oh, it's maybe it's temporary or something. Like he's done it for too long now for anyone to doubt him. You can't just kind of say like, oh yeah, a lot of players do this. They come in, hit the ground running, and then blah blah. No, actually, do you know what? He's been a really really good player. And when Arsenal struggled this season, when I look around that pitch and I think who's going to do something, he's my
Him.
go-to guy.
Yeah.
And then I have to think to myself, hold on a second, he's a kid, but he's our go-to guy. So for me, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, and the thing is, as much criticism as Gareth Southgate gets, he picked him in big games, semi-final European Championship, group games. In the early stages, I think he got banned in match performance in both the games he started. That's not by accident, people.
Exactly.
So,
but I'll never forgive flipping Gareth Southgate for picking him for the 5th penalty.
Oh, Mo, honestly, I couldn't believe it at the time, mate. I was shocked.
I cannot believe that. I'd love to sit down with Gareth Southgate and say to him, explain, just please tell me. Because one thing I always try and do, right, and I've always tried and done, when I see a manager come up with a weird team selection, like as an example, Emery with Torreira in the number 10 role.
Yeah, madness.
I think to myself, okay, before I just start spouting and ranting and raving, let me try and understand what angle he could be coming from. And you very often you're able to form a argument, whether you believe in it or not, that helps you understand where they might be coming from. So with the Emery Torreira thing, I thought, okay, fine. Look, we all know in football, if you win the ball high up the pitch, your goal likelihood, like your goal expectancy, is very high because you know the team, they don't have the men back. You've won the ball high up the pitch. Torreira is a specialist ball winner, and that's why I think Sarri also tried that with Kante at Chelsea.
Yeah.
So I can understand why some managers might do that. Do I agree with it? No, but I can understand it. With Gareth Southgate, do you have a theory as to why he might have done
that? Well, in regards to the penalty?
Yeah.
No, I've got no idea. I actually, some of the penalty takers, it depends what's to take one, but Saka, I didn't get him taking the 5th penalty. I can't understand that.
Yeah. I mean, any penalty, never mind the 5th.
Yeah.
And so I just sat there and I thought to myself, can I try and formulate a theory here that makes some sense to me? No, the dumbest thing is the only theory I could come up with, because Gareth Southgate seems like a really nice guy, and I think socially, heart in the right place. Maybe he wanted the black guys to have the plaudits because of the flipping racism that exists in this country.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought, let them be the heroes.
That's one theory I have not heard much, so that's very interesting.
But possibly, I mean, it can't be. No proper football manager is all of a sudden thinking, let's try and like address the social balance.
The shifting social,
If that's the best flipping theory I can come up with, I'm struggling, bro. I need Gareth Southgate to tell me what the hell he was thinking.
No, it's true. No, bro, good shout there. Like in terms of obviously, sort of my thoughts. Obviously, Ian Wright. Obviously, £2.5 million, man. Wow, you think about that now.
Yeah.
Absolute bargain. And you know what? When I talk about the Premier League's best goals, anybody hasn't seen Ian Wright's, one, you need to watch it. And some of the goals he scored, Mo, like the ones that always come to my head, right? You remember them as well. I think it was against Swindon. It must have been a Premier League game. That diagonal chip into the top bin.
Oh my God! Is that on the touchline?
Yeah. The one against Leeds, Ellen Rowe, when John Lucas was like,
Yeah.
The second goal against Everton when he turned Matt Jackson inside out.
Yeah.
Yeovil, the chip in the FA Cup. Yeah. But there's one Ian Wright goal, Mo, that I would love till I'm buried in the cemetery. That goal, if you wanted one goal to typify Ian Wright, his goal against Man United in the Community Shield.
For Palace?
For Arsenal against Man United.
For Arsenal. Okay.
Oh, wow. Instinctive, yeah. He didn't score too many against Peter Schmeichel, but the one he did score, that goal for me typifies the type of striker Ian Wright was.
Yeah, he could do it all, man.
Yeah, man.
You know what I loved about Ian Wright? You know, when he got through on goal, no matter how much time he had, it never, ever fazed him. A lot of people talk about players that too much time's a bad thing and they have to go on instinct. Ian Wright, everything about him, when he would get through on goal, was textbook. Sort of, you know, getting across the defender. His touch was perfect in terms of not giving the keeper a sniff. You know,
Yeah,
one thing that he said to me when I was talking to him in person once was
yeah,
that
yeah,
he never used to like to go round the keeper because he had such a trust in his own finishing that he
mm,
thought, I know, I like with everything that he does up to the point of striking the ball, I know I can beat the keeper because of like his just awareness, his born to do
yeah,
it awareness of how to position himself in front of a keeper. He never
yeah.
felt the need to go around and do any of that R9 stuff. So yeah, it just goes to show just the confidence he had, man. And what a player.
You know what, Mo? When you say that, it just comes rushing back to my head. I'm thinking of all these goals, and I don't remember too many ways gone around the goalkeeper. To be honest, I
Yeah.
don't. I
It's
generally
interesting
mean
that
that.
they say, yeah. And also, like another thing, he'd always go to the right of the goalkeeper on
Yeah,
penalties, for example. Just little things like that. He was a machine. He had his methods, and they just worked and worked and worked.
yeah, 100%. And one player I have to big up. Obviously, we have Mo. Listen, we were spoiled with some of the players we had in the past, but one that always kind of stand out and people talk about him is Patrick Vieira, man. Like,
Hmm.
it's not even just the Arsenal thing, Mo, for me. Like, we've never had a player we never had a player like him since. I look at midfield, I look at the way he played, not just for Arsenal, for France. I don't think I've seen anything like it. Now, people make the comparison in terms of they look for players, they go, oh, who can we think of? They go Kante. I say, look, I love N'Golo Kante, and I'm not even a Chelsea fan, but please don't even ever come to me with that argument. No.
What compared to Bergkamp?
No, Vieira.
Oh, sorry,
Vieira.
sorry. Yeah, yeah, you said yeah. In my head,
Yeah,
I'm
me
so dumb.
confused, bro.
I'm so stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
In
that's
my
all
head,
right.
when you were giving me that intro, I was
No,
thinking
no,
Bergkamp. So even though you said Vieira, no, sorry, I've had a
but no,
nightmare.
yeah, Vieira. Just I've not seen a player like him,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and he could do everything.
yeah,
That's why Mo, when they talk about Premier League best 11s, right? The two midfield players I always pick if we're picking a 4-4-2, for example, Gerard Vieira all day,
yeah, yeah. I agree.
every single day of the week.
I think you know with Vieira, when people try and describe him as a defensive midfielder, I always say to him like, oh, okay, you know, that's you telling me that you like Vieira, but you never watched him, you know.
Yes,
But
yes,
Patrick Vieira, yes, he was a defensive midfielder. Yes, he was a box-to-box midfielder. Yes, he was every type of midfielder you could possibly wish for, all in one at all times. He was mad. He was
yeah,
just another level. He could get forward. He could get back. He was the best tackler, best interceptor, just everything. He
yeah.
was a freak.
He was he was a better footballer than people give him credit for.
Oh, big time. Yeah. You know, like the
100%.
amount of times he just like pop the ball over someone's head, pop it over again, you know, it's just
I've
unbelievable
not
stuff.
seen anything as good as him in midfield. Not with the way he played. Never. Not no one even close.
Yeah. Someone just mentioned Yaya Toure there. I mean, Yaya Toure was never as defensively aware and as switched on as Patrick Vieira.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, I mean, Yaya Toure was no coward. I'm not
No,
suggesting
no,
that
of
in the
course.
slightest,
Yeah, 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 of
but
course.
he wasn't up for the fight like Vieira. And because
Yeah,
Vieira, you know, Yaya Toure was good. He was a tough, courageous player, but Vieira was another level. He'd drag teams through. Even if he didn't have the ball, he would drag teams through. He was special like that.
yeah. He was. But Vieira just when people have that, I say, look, don't waste your time. I'm not ever going to debate with you about current players talking about Vieira. And you make the point, Mo. A lot of people would have not seen Vieira play,
Yeah,
which they can't help when they was born, obviously. But listen,
yeah,
let me tell you, people, man, different gravy, absolutely
absolutely.
different. But yeah, Mo, this is the question. I definitely want to get your thoughts and opinions about the next one. Loaded question, really. To be honest with you, we had a little chat before we went live about the wonderful world of football and social media combined together. Yeah. So, how have you found your experiences of being involved in YouTube stroke footballing podcast world? Negative, positive. Take it whatever way you want to take it, mate.
Right, you know what? Look, let's really cut to the chase here. I'm going to be
Yeah.
really transparent with you. You know, throughout my life, as someone that's been really, really into football, whether that was playing football and trying to like play for clubs, or whether that's talking about football, I have found my race to be against me. In all honesty, right? Not only my race as well, but you know, if you want to get into this level of depth here, you know, like a class background.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate. I make no bones about that. I'm very fortunate that you know went to university, I got qualified, I'm an accountant, I've got a good job, all that sort of stuff. The way I talk and stuff, I never try and fit in. I'm just me. I just do what comes
Yeah.
naturally to me. So, I don't try and imitate anyone, but, so in every way, like, it's not like I've got tattoos and I talk in a certain way and I do a certain job. And for a lot of people, that doesn't fit the mold of a football fan, and it doesn't fit the mold of what they want to see. Yeah. So throughout my life, so at my university, for example, like I was a half decent footballer, and I was at university for 4 years. For the first 2 years, I didn't get picked to my football club, and they had 6 or 7 teams in the university, right? So I went for the trial, scored a goal. The game finished 1-1, and I thought, what more can I do? I mean, surely I'm going to get in the team. Didn't get in the team. Didn't get in the team for 2 years. Went to every training session.
Wow.
Eventually, the captains were forced to pick me because they didn't have enough players right at the start of an academic year. So I got picked. I scored. Never looked back. Ended up scoring more than 50 goals in 2 years. Like I was, just on fire, sort of thing. And people always used to say to me in the first 2 years, "Oh, do you play for the uni?" And I was like, "No." "Why not?" I was like, "You tell me." And the reality was that the way teams got picked with captains was that you have to go out on the socials, listen to a bit of cheesy music, get drunk, do something dumb, dress up, in the silly outfits and costumes, because they have this thing called father and sons. A captain will dress up as a doctor, so the sons have got to dress up as a nurse. I'm not into that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to dress up as a nurse, get drunk, and vomit in a bush and stuff to get picked for a football team. So
Yeah.
and I know this to be true. That stopped me from getting picked. And then when it came to like the social media world and stuff like that, when like it comes to getting certain gigs, I would refuse to do anything with any bookie, for example. It doesn't fit into my morals or my values. So, all the Paddy Power and the Ladbrokes gigs and stuff like that, I don't get those. Even if I've ever been approached, just like, no, I don't get those. So yeah, I've always found that I'm swimming against the stream there a little bit in terms of being up there. But I'd always kind of felt like what's more important is just staying true to myself. And I knew from very early on, I'm never going to be the biggest person out there, but the following that I will have will be like a very engaged following, because the people that do choose to follow me or listen to me will know that actually you're going to get like some real integrity. And an example of that, I won't name the brand, purely I don't need to talk bad about anyone, but I was recently in conversation with a brand about them sponsoring my YouTube channel. And I said to them, right, before we discuss anything, I want you to send your product out to me, because there's no way I'm going to put my name to a product. My name to a product without actually knowing that this product is decent, and that and that I believe in it, or I actually would advocate for it. Because people have an expectation of me that if they see something on my channel, they expect me to have done some due diligence for them, which is why I'm talking about it. I think that's what integrity is for me. And they were like, "No, sorry, we don't do that." And I was like, "What? But you sponsor every single channel out there. So you're telling me not a single channel has ever said to you, not a single person has ever said to you that they're sponsored by you, that no, I'm not doing it unless you send me the product, because I want to make sure people that follow me, are getting
madness,
like integrity through this promotion." And for me, it just shows that, like, things are harder for me, man, with the way I want to operate and my identity and what I stand for.
No, well said, Mo. How have you sort of found it since, like, take it forward to sort of you starting your YouTube channel? Have you, like, what would you say is the positive and negatives in terms of anybody who wants to even start a YouTube channel, to be honest with you?
Yeah, don't expect anything. Don't expect any favors from anyone. Unfortunately, it's one of those ones where at the start, when you're not a big deal, no one is going to care. No one's going to want to do you any favors. A retweet is free, but don't expect people to do it for you. As soon as you become relevant, as soon as you get a good scoop, or you want to, or you're a big time, people will be on your case. It will just be non-stop. So that's just the way it is. Rightly or wrongly, it's just the way it is. So just be mindful of that. And it does take a long time. It's quite a saturated market, so if you can, try and think about what you can potentially do differently, what your USP is. So you have some people out there, their USP is being ultra critical, and that's their USP. If that works for them, that's fine, that's their call. My USP is that agenda free, very, very objective and honest, and I hope people see that, talking about that
Yeah,
integrity again,
100%.
where it doesn't matter if I don't like a player's personality or whatever. If he or she or whatever is a good player, then I'll just say it how it is and I'll swallow my pride. I'll admit when I'm wrong. And I think people respect that I don't have those sorts of agendas where it's not about me and me being proved right. Try and come up with what your USP is, what your brand is, and why you think people think actually this person's worth listening to over just a regurgitated version of someone else. And please,
Mm.
whatever you do, don't try and imitate anyone. Don't think that worked for them. Maybe I can try and do something similar, because, number one, it's lame and people will see straight through it.
Yeah, Mo, great advice, man. I mean, we had a chat before we came live, and I told you about my situation quite recently. And it's interesting you mentioned the race thing, because one thing I sort of learned, and I say to people, anyone that wants to get into the YouTube side of it or do a channel, like do it. Like, listen, but don't be blinkered. There are people out there that do not want the best for you. And when they get the opportunity to try and throw you under the bus, they will. And what I would say to a lot of people, because I'm very comfortable saying it. Yes, I was born and raised in this country, but I'm a black man. And what I saw on recent months in terms of being involved on the platform, and trending for the wrong reasons, I saw a lot of covert racism. Now people think, oh, you know what? No one used the P word or the M word or use certain emojis. No, 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 no. With covert, it's very subtle, and there's microaggressions there, and that is what I've clearly saw on the platform. I've experienced it in my personal life and working life, and I saw the signs of what I saw. Thankfully, a lot of the people who I've encountered, because there is a positive side to it, people don't think it's all negative, because it isn't. There's some good people out there that will support you and will want the best for you and do amazing collaborations with people. I met some fantastic people, male and female, on the platform. I've been on the platform long enough to know that I'm not stupid or naive enough to know that, listen, with Twitter especially, it's a very brutal platform. It can be very, very toxic. Very different from Instagram. Instagram is a bit more. I like the crowd on Instagram. It's very different from Twitter. But people, like, just listen, get into it. It's difficult to be original, but just try, be yourself, man.
Yeah. And
And
you've got to have
come
a
on, man.
thick skin.
Come in, Mo. Sorry, man.
You've got to have a real thick skin.
Yeah,
Like, honestly,
100%.
if it's not worth doing anything that's going to affect your inner peace and your mental health, yeah. And for a lot of people, it does. I'll talk about Claude. God rest his soul, man.
Yeah,
I used to say to him all the time when he was upset about a comment, or someone being rude to him, that, man, listen, you've had 99 positive comments today. You've had 99 people come up and show you
yeah,
love. You've had one person come up and say something horrible to you. Why does that one seem to carry more weight than the 99? And you have to train your brain to pay attention to the 99, because like on a journey home, if you're driving home, you'll see 1,000 cars drive past you or parked up, this, that, the other. But if you see one car that's been in an accident, yeah, that's the one that will stick in your mind. That's the one thing you'll remember from your journey home. Like, oh boy, did you see that car that smashed into that lamppost? Because it's a bit out the norm, and it's like, surprising to see. So I get that it's quite a normal human way of thinking,
yeah, of
but
course.
please, if you're going to get into this YouTube game, don't give any greater value to the positive comments than the negative comments, but also don't give greater value to the negative to the positive. See the overall mood, and hopefully then you can, like, sort of manage your emotions a little bit better, because it does affect people.
No, yeah, Mo, listen, you give some great stuff, man. Like I said, you're right about the thick skin, because listen, for example, myself, I'm a small YouTuber, man. Listen, I'm not working with no brands, or I'm not trying to protect my image. Listen, I ain't got time for that rubbish. But be just people that want to get into this, just be very, very well aware that people will be prepared, unfortunately, from a negative side, to take you down at any opportunity. And I've experienced that recently, to be honest enough to tell you that.
Yeah,
And I've come through the other side of it, because people saw it for what it really, really was.
yeah.
And yeah, so I want to big up one person in the chat, actually. B, my fantastic lady, ex-work colleague, who I met just before the Man United game. She made a comment there, man. Where if I can find it? That's it. I'm an Asian woman. Not sure how that will go down in the male-dominated sporting arena. Any takes on that, Mo?
B, listen, drop me a DM. If I can give you a little push start, I'm happy to do that. And yeah, listen, man, I'm here to support you. And it's not as male dominated as it once was, right? And I
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
the people that are going to give you stick for trying to do something and talk and say what you want to say, they're never ever going to be your viewers anyway. Just discount them. They're dinosaurs. They're going extinct. You don't need to worry about them. Your target market is every other sane person that's not, you know, a dinosaur in that way. So forget about them. Do your thing, and I'm happy to try and help if I can.
Mo, fantastic, man. Mo, much appreciated, man. I love B to B. I will see you soon whenever it is. When you're not busy working and you know sort out your diary, you sort something out. But both love that, man. Appreciate that for B, man. B, be in touch because she's on Twitter as well. We got to chat quickly. Yeah, Arsenal, and I huge respect to both of you, Mo, for talking on this subject. It must not be easy, but needs to be discussed more. Honestly, mass respect for not being to talk about it openly and publicly. Thank you, Arsenal. That's my boy Jake Clegg, who we met Mo after the Man United game after a victorious home victory of 3 points. But Mo, look, I want to get your one opinions about Arsenal before we wrap up because you've been fantastic, man. People in the chat, thank you for your interaction, Mo. This for me was a perfect topic to get you on my channel, particularly live stories, because it's such a wide variety of different answers to the questions I've given you. But Mo, much love, man. Yeah, Mo, Arsenal. So 4 games left, 3 games left, 4 games left.
Three,
How many
isn't it?
games left? I'm
Tottenham,
confused now.
Everton, Tottenham, Newcastle, Everton. Yeah.
Yeah. How you feeling about top 4, man?
Yeah, for me, it's it will be catastrophic failure at this point
Yeah,
if we don't get it. So I think we'll do it. I've got faith in this team. Listen, this season has been very testing. Let's be honest. There's
yeah,
no Arsenal fan that I think could, have that shout from the rooftops sort of confidence and faith in this team because man, they have put us on a roller coaster. Into up to international break, we had like league leading form over the last 5 games, and we come back, lose 3, then we go and beat, Chelsea, West Ham, Man
Man
United.
United, now Leeds.
It's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's a nonsense. This team we cannot predict anything. So of course it's possible that we can go and mess things up, but I've got faith in my team. I think that for a young team, the thing that I was always worried about at the start of the season, at the middle of the season, was how are they going to cope at the end of the season? Being such a young team, not knowing what it's like to be dealing with a pressure cooker situation of aiming for a top 4 finish or the title or whatever it might be. When you've got nothing to play for, the pressure's off. But when you have, it doesn't feel the same going out on the pitch. And I felt like that crack showed in those 3 games that we lost. And now in recent games, we've done obviously a lot better. But the one thing I would say that makes me a little bit nervous is that when you look at the story of the games that we've won and how we've managed to turn around that
Yeah.
massive blip of those 3 defeats, against Chelsea, Christensen gives Eddie a gift. Against Man United, Varane and Telles, both of them completely miss across. It goes to Saka where we get the goal. Leeds, Meslier, it was
Yeah, what is he doing?
Nketiah,
Yeah,
a tackle. Let's be really honest about this. We've made our own luck in the games, and yes, we deserve to win. No dispute on that. But we have been given some gifts. So I don't think Arsenal currently are firing on all cylinders where I can turn around and say, no, I'm 100% confident. But given the situation that we're in, I think we've got such a commanding position right now to go and get that 4th spot that I think we will. And hopefully the game against Tottenham, gifts or no gifts, hopefully we go out there, stand up, be counted, put in a
yeah.
proper coming of age performance. That's what I want to see. I want to see a young team, the youngest average age starting 11 in the Premier League this season, show to people that actually, do you know what? We know how to deal with these really intensely pressurized games against your direct rivals for what you're trying to aim to achieve away from home. Not only that, the mix of a North London derby, and I want to see them deal with it and come out of it with their chin up.
No, Mo, well said. And sometimes I think in life, sometimes it's timing. So if we'd come up against a Newcastle side that were in a rich vein of form as they were, I don't know what 3-4 weeks ago, it might be not saying it's not going to be I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy game, but it might have been a little bit more difficult. Everton, the way things are going, it's tight to call the other end of the table, Mo. But by the time we play them, they might need a point to stay up, for example.
Well, Leeds are losing right now to Chelsea, and they're a man down. So,
Ooh,
if Leeds carry on like this, Everton might be safe on the
they're
final day.
safe, yeah. So it works. Sometimes in life it is timing. Sometimes, sometimes. But Mo, man, I want to thank you for coming on the channel, man. It's been fantastic to get you on, meet you in person, obviously the first place, but charming man. Great to meet you, man. And I hope to talk to you a lot more about Arsenal and our beloved club, not just this season with the games left, but in future seasons to come, man. So thank you for coming on, man.
Absolute pleasure, Albert. Thanks for having me on. And get in touch. And yeah, hopefully we go on and do it and get Champions League football after a long 6-year
Oof, long
absence.
time, man.
Hopefully we go back, start doing some serious stuff in the transfer window, and get back to proper glory days.
Yeah, 100%. Amen to that, my brother. People in the chat, thank you for your amazing interaction. As I said, people, obliterate the like button, and I will put this on my audio later on my Spotify and Anchor so people can hear my dulcet tones. People, that is Life Stories, episode 14, over and out. See you soon, people. Come on, you gunners.